Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show you um, a brief demo on how we can build applications like web app or even web-based games using AI. And this tool is called Replit. So just to give you an overview what Replit is. So Replit is basically an AI-powered cloud-based development platform which allows users to create, deploy, and share applications directly from a web browser. Originally it was founded in 2016 as an online integrated development environment or IDE. So, Replit has evolved into a more comprehensive AI driven software creation. Another thing is Replit operates as a browser native development environment that supports over 50 programming languages. So, this includes Python, JavaScript, Ruby, and even C++. So, the platform standout feature is Replit Agent. So, it's an AI system that can generate complete applications from natural language description. So, this technology represents what Replit calls vibe coding, a methodology that makes software creation accessible through AI interaction rather than traditional coding. So, what does this mean for us users? So, for example, I don't code, so I can actually build applications using AI, using prompt engineering methods. So, using human language or human instruction. So that's what it means. So I'm going to briefly share you some of its basic functionality. Um, we can actually see this home button. So as you can see, we can already see a chat box here, similar to what we see on ChatGPT, in Gemini, in Perplexity, or even other standalone AI chatbots. So now you can click this AI chat. You can see local landmarks map, statistical significant calculator. So what you can see, this is most likely a suggested instruction or a suggested tool that you can build. Now, at the bottom, you can see the recent apps like this one. If you can click this, this is the most recent application that I have built. Okay, so you can see this button. You can even see this QR code. You can scan it. Now, you can see this when you click this. This is the actual application that I've built. So you can see the actual URL, which means that it is hosted from Replit. But this is a working application. So this is just an example of the most recent application that I built. But we're going to create another one from scratch. So for demo purposes. You can also view your applications here. You can see deployments. When we say deployments, which means these are the applications that you have already shipped or the working applications that you have already deployed or released. You can also see the usage depending on your subscription, like this one. Let's say out of $25, you've already used $7.93. So, and it resets in 11 hours. Now, please note that I'm currently using the paid subscription. So, um, that's why you can maximize the rest of its paid features. You can also see how much you've already used, like for example, the compute units, and so on and so forth. And then you can also share your workspace with your team as well. So you can click Get Started with Replit Teams, and then you can see bounties. So it says here bounties work with top Replit creators to bring your ideas to life. So what does this mean? So when you click bounties, you can see actual applications that was already been built by actual users. So you can also view the applications that they've built. So as an inspiration, so for example, you wanted to, let's say, build a similar application to this user, so you can actually refer to this application as an inspiration. So I'm actually clicking the details so you can view, access and view the details. You can see the applications, the discussions, and so on and so forth. Um, Templates is also accessible here as well. So let's say you wanted to refer or build a specific application using a specific template. you can also use this so that it will be much easier for you as well. So these templates are accessible. You can also click learn as well, and then you can also see the documentation. So it's basically the developer doc that you can see on Replit, because Replit is also an application that is also um, where developers can also edit codes as well. So this is good for both technical and non-technical users. So for now, I'm going to show you a brief demo how I build an application. So, but before we do that, so let me share you the actual documentations that I'm going to use in order to build my application. So, as you can see, um, I built this technical documentation guide. So I plan to build a Filipino recipe AI chatbot. So, how did I build this actual documentation? So I used this prompt instruction. So I've used the RTF plus the create framework in order for me to be able to build this instruction. So what I did is I used Gemini 2.5 Pro. So if we go back to Gemini, so I've used this Gemini Pro preview, and Gemini has created this documentation which includes the working codes. So we're not going to go through the details, but I'm just showing these documentations to you as your reference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this document. So I'm going to download it as Microsoft Word. Okay, so let's go back to Replit. So create a web app using the attached guide. So I'm going to attach the guide here that I've downloaded, the technical documentation. So I'm going to click open, and then I'm going to click start building. Okay, as you can see, this interface is what we call the Replit agent. It's like an AI agent that is already working based on your instructions. So it's trying to build the app. It's also giving you context of what its reasoning is. Let's say, for example, it's trying to tell you what it's currently doing right now in order to build the application. And then you can see the initial version says here, a Filipino recipe chatbot web application that provides authentic Filipino cooking instruction through conversational AI. Now, you can see this option. It will ask you, would you like any of these additional features? However, we can also make these changes later. So it asks you, do you want it to implement RAG or retrieval augmented generation? So just to give you a context, so RAG or retrieval augmented generation is a method where the AI model is able to get real-time information from online sources, for example, blog posts, any resources that are found on the internet, let's say on Google search, on Bing search, and so on and so forth. Also, it's asked, would you like to add recipe image generation capability? So yes, we can add this. Create user accounts with favorite recipes, yes. Implement advanced web scraping for multiple recipe resources, yes. So it depends if you wanted to approve it or not. So approve and start a plan. So just to give a disclaimer, so these types of cloud-based ID platforms like Replit, these are not 100% perfect, but can actually build a full stack application for you from the front end and from the back end at the same time. So there are similar applications like Cursor, Lovable, Google's Firebase Studios. But as of the moment, Replit is one of the favorites by developers as of the moment. So as we can see, this preview, it's already giving us the preview page. Okay, so you can also see this if you wanted to refer a friend to earn an additional credit, you can as well. And then as you can see, how do we know if the Replit agent or the AI agent is currently working on building your applications? It's already showing here at the bottom. And then you can see this additional chat box where you can actually type any additional instructions, whether you notice that they're overlapping images or you want the Replit agent to fix this specific UI. So it depends on your instruction. You need to make sure that your instructions are clear, concise. You should provide enough context to ensure that the AI agent understands what you're asking for. Okay, so let's continue. So as we can see, it says here thinking. So it's just going to take a little bit longer, so let's just wait. Okay, so you can see it says here considering options, determining the next step. So you can see it here. So you can see the actual task that it's working on. Let's say you can see this green check, which means that the Replit agent is already done with the initial planning, done with the plan approvals. Then it's generating a visual preview, which is this one on the right panel. So you can see this preview, which means that it's showing you the actual UI of the actual application that you are trying to build. And then you can see some of these. As you can see this icon, this is the agent which can help you make changes, review its work, and debug itself automatically. And then you can see the preview panel. You can also click this, the actual console where you can see the codes. So you can also click this run replit run command. You can also click this option like the database. So this feature is available for the paid version. So the Replit agent may ask for you to set up a database, so it's your option if you wanted to add a database or not, depending on the use case or the feature, whether it's necessary to add a database or not. You can also click this one. Let's say you wanted to, it will ask you how you wanted to deploy it. Let's say you want it auto scale, like reserve VM, always on server, static pages, or scheduled. So usually, Replit recommends this option auto scale as best choice for most apps. So basically, these options are just methods of how you wanted to deploy your application. Okay, and then you can click all tools, integrations, deployment, auto beta, or off beta, sorry. And then you can click this object storage, which is persistent shared file storage, which can be accessed programmatically in your application. So these are some of the additional features that you can see on Replit. You can also see the thread. You can also see the chat as well. But for now, let's focus on the AI agent. Also, you can see the panels here. So we'll just go back to preview. Okay, so let's continue here. So you can actually collapse this section. This is where you can see the actual source code. Okay, so while Replit is generating the content, so let me just share you like a quick documentation. So this is about prompt engineering. So as you noticed, I've shown you some documents here, like for example this one. So this is the actual prompt instruction that I have used in order for me to create this technical documentation that I've used earlier to build this application. So now, for some who haven't heard some of the prompt engineering frameworks, so basically I've used both RTF and Create. So what does RTF stands for? It stands for the role, the task, and the format. So for the role, basically, it actually wants you to define who you are. Let's say, for example, act as a project manager or even act as a data analyst. So for task, you need to ensure to clearly define or state the task where you want the AI to initiate. And then for the format, you need to make sure to clearly specify your desired format. Let's say, for example, you want the instruction, you want the document to be either on a paragraph or you want it in bullet points. So, as we see on the document, so it's saying that the benefits of the RTF format, it's basically straightforward and effective for well-defined tasks. And then it's easy to implement and understand, and it helps ensure a clear and concise instruction or prompt. Now, with RTF, I asked Gemini earlier to combine the create formula. So, create formula is also defines the character. Let's say, similar to the role, the character is it will ask you what's your persona. Let's say, going back, I act as a project manager or act as a software engineer. The request is you need to make sure to clearly or precisely indicate what you want the AI agent to do. Let's say, for example, I want you to create this specific task in bullet format. So you need to make sure you provide enough context. So it's like when you're giving instruction to your team, you need to make sure that your instructions are need to be clearly defined. It has to, let's say, for example, you need to make sure that you use the smart framework. Let's say, for example, you need to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be attainable, it has to be realistic, and has to be time bound. Those are examples of requests. Now, for examples, let's say, for example, you wanted the AI agent to adopt explicitly on what you wanted to do, you need to make sure to provide the necessary examples. So the AI is able to contextually or better understand what you wanted uh, to do. Okay, so for the adjustments, okay, so let's say, for example, you wanted to ask the AI agent that you need to indicate, let's say, for example, if you have identified anything that can improve or help improve it, then make sure to provide the necessary adjustments. And then for the types of output, you need to ensure that you specify the desired format for the AI's response. For the evaluation, you need to ensure that the AI agent has a way to evaluate or compare its output. Like, for example, asking the AI agent, you need to ensure that you provide a key performance indicator for you to be able to have a way to measure its success. Okay, so what are the benefits of having the great formula? So it's more comprehensive and precise. It helps us facilitate the management of a more complex task and then ensures alignment with your project goals and expectations. So one other thing is there is also a chain of thought similar to create format. So it's basically breaks down complex tasks into a smaller and more manageable subtask that the AI agent can understand as well. And then also there's what we call uh, prompt uh, prompt chaining. Okay, so what does this mean? So you just simply basically do a follow-up prompt instruction, whether you see that there's an inconsistency. Let's say you ask the AI agent that I see that this is wrong, or you need to correct this. So you need to make sure to basically do a follow-up. So going back to Replit, I'm going to show you an example prompt chaining. So as we can see, it's actually asking for an API key from OpenAI. Since I don't have an API key, so I don't have an API key from OpenAI. Sorry, there's just a what do you call this? A typo error. So I will ask the Replit agent, can I use DeepSeek API instead? since that's the only one I have available. So this is an example of prompt chaining. Okay, so let's just wait. Hopefully it responds. In the meantime, I'm going to go to DeepSeek's API. So remember that API key is a sensitive information because it's connected or it's tied up to your project's billing. So every time you fire an API, there's a charge for it. Especially DeepSeek, similar to OpenAI, basically relies into its context window, and also it has a token limit as well. So the billing or the charge depending on the token usage. So I'm going to use DeepSeek here. So um, it's up to you if you wanted to use the same API key or if you wanted to generate a new one. So in the meantime, I can go ahead and generate an API key. So I'm going to name the API key Filipino AI Cooking Chatbot. And then click Create API Key. So I'm going to copy this, but you need to make sure you don't share this API key. Okay? So this is just for demo purposes. So I'm going to go back to to Replit, and I'm going to copy and paste the API key. But remember, you need to make sure that your API has funds on it. Otherwise, it won't work. So if you notice there's actually roughly $4 left here. Okay, so let's go back to Replit. So just for additional context, so what does API mean, or why we need an API? So basically, API stands for Application Programming Interface. So the purpose of the API is for your system or platform to be able to properly interact into another platform. Now, since we're building an AI chatbot, so it needs an LLM based platform to help generate its responses. So that's why earlier it's asking whether um, do I have like an API key from OpenAI. So since I don't have, so I did manage to ask Replit, can I use DeepSeek's API key instead? So as we can see, since I already shared my API key, so it says here, great progress. I've successfully set up your Filipino recipe chatbot using DeepSeek. Here's what I've completed. So it's giving you a summary of what it did, or the task that it did. So let's say configure DeepSeek's API integration, build responsive chat interface with Filipino theme design, added preloaded authentic Filipino recipe, adobo, sinigang, implemented recipe filtering to only respond to Filipino cuisine questions. So basically, I did already manage to ask Replit to put a guardrail to ensure that its responses are only limited to any queries related to Filipino food. Otherwise, it won't be able to answer any questions if the user asks something that is beyond Filipino food or any other topic that is not related to Filipino food. Let's say, for example, I asked something related to West Philippine Sea, so it should respond in a way that it cannot answer those types of questions that are not related to Filipino food. Okay, so what's next? So we're going to actually, you can see that it's giving us a preview. So let's try it. So can you tell me how to cook let's see adobo without a soy sauce? And then let's click send. Okay, it's saying sorry, I'm having trouble connecting right now, please try in a moment. Okay, so what you can do, you can screenshot this. So you can ask Replit Agent to, can you fix this error? I did ask, I did tested a question where I asked the chatbot relevant question related to Filipino food. So it says here, I can see the issue. The error shows it's still trying to use OpenAI's API instead of DeepSeek. The problem is still that pointing out to OpenAI's base URL. So let me fix this. Make sure to fix the error as you are a developer. Okay, so perfect. I fixed the API connection issue by updating DeepSeek's endpoint. The chatbot should now work properly with your DeepSeek's API key. So what happened earlier was it recognized the error that the reason why it did not work, it's because the API key that I have shared is from DeepSeek, while it's still asking me earlier for an OpenAI's API key. So this is why the AI chatbot was not able to generate its response. So it's saying that it's still continuing to work on fixing the issue. Let's say it says here, let me fix the DeepSeek API configuration issue. I need to adjust the endpoint and potentially the model name to match DeepSeek's actual API format. Okay, so let me, it says here, let me try different approach to test a DeepSeek's API connection to a simpler configuration. And then it says here, let me add better error handling to understand what's happening with the DeepSeek API. Okay, so let's go ahead and wait. Okay, says here, I can see that DeepSeek's API call is timing out. Let me create a fallback solution that uses preloaded Filipino recipes we have in storage so your chatbot works immediately without depending on external API calls. So it's like you're interacting to a human. It's telling you what they're trying to do to fix the issue, but this time you're interacting with an AI agent, which is Replit's agent. Okay, so I can see that DeepSeek API is working but returning the response in Markdown format instead of a pure JSON. So let me remove the old AI dependent code and clean up the solution to use authentic Filipino recipe we already have in storage. Okay, so it's saying that let me fix the broken code properly by cleaning up the chat endpoint and making it work with the preloaded authentic Filipino recipe. Okay, so whilst trying to fix this, let's ask our friend, can you explain what an endpoint mean as you are speaking with a non-developer? So just for educational purposes, we're going to ask these questions to these LLM chatbots while we are waiting for Replit to fix the issue. Okay, so ChatGPT said, so it says here, imagine a company has several customer service phone numbers. One number lets you check your account balance, another lets you pay your bill, the third gives today's exchange rate, each phone number, yada yada yada. So it says here, so endpoint is equal to specific address plus specific job. How about perplexity? It says here, same thing. It's giving us an example in a way that a user can easily understand. So it says here, in everyday terms, endpoint equals a specific address or door. So it says here, why do endpoints matter? So it's saying here that they let different programs or apps talk to each other. So they make it easy to get or send information automatically. So let's go back to Replit. So it's asking add a database for user data. We can probably ask Replit, is it necessary to add a database on this platform? There's also a new feature that says your element editor visually select and edit elements in your app. Okay, it's saying for Filipino recipe chatbot, a database isn't strictly necessary in this platform. Here's why the current setup works well. Current setup, no database. So it explains that your recipe are stored in a memory and loaded on a JSON file. Fast response time since everything is in memory, so perfect for a recipe chatbot with a focus set on authentic Filipino dishes. Easy to maintain and update recipes, so it's explaining when do you need a database. So let's say if you plan to have hundreds of recipes, if you want users to save their favorite recipes, if you want to track user preferences on cooking history, if user people will be adding recipes simultaneously. So this one is kind of interesting because it's like LLM chatbots like Gemini, ChatGPT, it's learning from users' preference. Let's say, for example, I usually ask ChatGPT related to Filipino food, so it's already learning my preference as a user. So it's trying to tailor fit its answer based on my preference or my chat history. So in this case, I can just probably say maybe later. Remember, just to give a disclaimer that this database feature works on the paid version of Replit. Okay, so as we can see, it's saying here preview will be available soon. So it's saying reconnecting, so it's still loading. So please note that uh, this also may depend on your internet connection as well. So let's just wait for a couple of minutes. So it says your connection has been temporarily interrupted. Usually this, so most likely it's my internet connection. So let me refresh. Let me make sure that we just close some of the icons. So you're disconnected, refresh. So let me just reconnect to the internet access. Okay. So since my internet actually refresh, so I just need to reconnect, and then let's just refresh it. So don't worry, because since it's browser based, so you can actually just refresh it, so it's actually rerunning the task. Okay, so it says here use maybe later, just click maybe later. Okay, so we're back on the preview, so let's try it again. So this panel, it's like a sandbox environment. So when we say sandbox environment, which means that it's like a prototype on a test environment where users can actually test to see whether there are necessary errors that needs to be fixed, or whether the working prototype is good to be shipped or to be deployed. So I'm going to try to type in, let's say, can you give me the recipe of the adobo version, or let's say we can probably say of the white adobo version. Okay, it says here, I'd love to help you Filipino food. I currently have recipes for chicken adobo, sinigang na baboy, fresh lumpia. Could you ask about one of these dishes or be more specific about Filipino dish? So it's asking me to clarify. So chicken adobo. Okay, so as we can see, it's already giving us the recipes. Okay, let's ask another question. So can you tell me how to cook an Italian spaghetti? Okay, so it's working as expected because it's saying that I'm sorry, but I specialize only in Filipino recipes. I'd be happy to help you with dishes like lumpia, pancit, kare. So it's giving us like recommendation as an example. So which means that the app is working as expected. So what's next? So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to deploy it or ship it. When we say ship it, which means that we're going to set it up in production. Okay, so going back to this page, so it's giving us options how we want the app to be deployed or be shipped into production. So it's either we want it to be deployed in reserve VM, auto scale, static pages, or schedule. So what we're going to do is for me, I'm going to set up for deployment using auto scale as recommended as a best choice for most apps. So as we can see, it's giving us information like how much is the power level for each machine that spins upon the request. So let's say 3 machines. So I'm going to approve and configure the settings. Okay, so the primary domain, it's basically this one. So whether I'll just probably remove this. Okay, so Filipino recipe buddy at replit.com. Okay, so this is the session secret, DeepSeek API key. So if you wanted to show the API key, you can click this. You have the option to add deployment secret, but we're not going to dig deeper into this. There says here pre-deployment security scan. So before deploying your app, run a security scan powered by your partner, SemGrep. So it's a third-party application that does the security scan on behalf of Replit. So their purpose is to help us identify potential vulnerabilities. So we can actually click this run scan. So going back to the left panel, so it's actually doing a security scanner. Okay, so it says here that no vulnerabilities found. So it's giving us the date and the timestamp. So since it did not identify any security concerns, so let's just click deploy. As we can see, it's showing us the tasks. Okay, so it's showing us the code logs. So it's showing us on step 1 provision, it's done because it's already in green, and then step 2 build, it's already in green as well. And then bundle. So let's just wait. So it's just going to take a couple of minutes. So let's just wait for a couple of minutes. So it's still running. So it's already done on step 3. Then you can also check these logs. You can also check the analytics. You can also check the resources, and then so you can see the CPU utilization, memory utilization. Then you can check the settings. Like the URL, I removed my name, so I opted to Filipino recipe buddy.replit.app. So this is the domain hosted by Replit. So if you're going to ask who does host the URL, it's currently being hosted by Replit. So let's go ahead and go back to deployments. So overview. So it's saying here that it's already done. We can already see that the status is green, which means that it's already been shipped into production. So you can see the domain URL. It's hosted by Replit. That's why you can see replit.app. And then you can scan the QR code, or you can click this one. When you click this one, you can see the actual web app. So you can, it's asking us recommendation like sinigang recipe. Okay, so you can see the sinigang na baboy, like the ingredients and the instructions. Then, can you tell me how to cook a Japanese yakisoba? Okay, it says here, I'm sorry, but I'm specialized only in Filipino recipes. So again, I've already planned the guardrails or the limitations of the app itself, that it should only be limited to answering questions related to Filipino food. So that's an example of putting guardrails or safety to ensure that the AI app is working as expected depending on the function that you have built for it. Okay, so again, thank you so much for watching this brief demo. So good luck on your AI application building, and just keep learning or don't stop learning.